All right, guys. Good morning. Uh, I'm just having a recap of what we discussed in first session because today I want to start straight away with the content of the subject. So, uh, in the first session, the purpose of session was to give you an overview of the subject and the paper and its requirement. And we started with this hypothetical situation, like often we encounter in our life or in current affair that will you torture a suspected terrorist if you're a police officer and if you suspect that he has got the information about a bomb that is kept in your city because the lives of lakhs of people are at stake. So many people say yes, and there is a school of thought for such decision making in ethics. We call it consequentialism. Here you are weighing consequences of losing lakhs of people versus torturing one person. But when the situation is changed, in which you bring in his daughter because he is not ready to reveal anything, and if I ask, will you torture his daughter? There are many people who had earlier said no, they end up saying, sorry, who had said yes, they end up saying no. Now something changes here. If I ask you commonsensical explanation, then of course you will give. But if you understand the theory behind it or theoretical foundation behind it, your justification will be more qualitative and that will help you to fetch more marks. Same is the case with here. When I ask, is suicide unethical? Many people answer yes, it is wrong to commit suicide because it is not the ultimate solution. But if you listen to the various sciences, particularly social sciences, they have analyzed suicide into various categories and their attributes. You'll realize you are on the wrong side of the fence. Are you getting my point? And therefore, many times, some opinions are heard from toppers that it is a paper which can be dealt with common sense. It's not true. On the other side, there are some topper who recommend you to read specialized books like autobiographies and biographies and philosophical books. Again, this is not necessary. You'll have to strike the right balance between these two. Are you getting my point? So that's the point I wanted to convey. Then I gave a functional definition of ethics. If you haven't written, please write down. Ethics is a systematic study of human actions. Ethics is a systematic study of human actions from the perspective of their rightfulness or wrongfulness. Ethics is a systematic study of human actions, underline this part, human actions, from the perspective of their rightfulness or wrongfulness. Again, underline this last part, rightfulness or wrongfulness. Now, having said that, I assume that all of you are adult, 18 plus. Is it really required that I should teach you what is right and wrong? For adult, should I, like preachers, आप ये करो, वो करो, ये नहीं करना चाहिए, वो नहीं करना चाहिए? Is that really necessary? No. As far as your personal life, you are very much competent with certain probability to arrive at right conclusion, right? But the kind of role you want to fit in is not that simple. Do you agree with me? Civil servants, can they take decision based on their commonsensical understanding of the life? No, they cannot. They cannot afford because social reality is much more complex than what we know. Our limited lifetime experience is not enough to make conclusion about society at large. As a civil servant, as a person, yes, you can make judgments and it won't have much consequences except for you and your life. But as a civil servant, what you are going to decide has large scale implications. And therefore, it is recommended that at least you should have some general awareness about ethics. UPSC doesn't expect you to be a ethicist. Do you know who is a ethicist? The one who is expert in the area of moral philosophy. Neither it expects you to be psychologist because there is a component of syllabus in your paper, social psychology. Neither it expects you to be public administrator at the inception. That's not possible because you haven't had any opportunity to work with public administration system. But the kind of general awareness which is needed so that you can be trained to be civil servant, that is what the demand of this paper. Is that clear? All right. So second question, we dealt with why this has become important, why it was not earlier. So the answer is, I don't give you specific answer because it is your job to find out the answer. But something has changed in last 2 to 3 decades, and in response to that, the admin system need to be changed. Are you getting my point? Please find out what has changed, what was not earlier there before last 2 decades, and what had changed, how society had changed. Not only economy, but society had changed. And because you have spent almost 2 decades of your life observing society around you, you will find it very much. Okay, you need not read specialized books. Remember your childhood and remember what is happening now. You will find the stark difference. Are you getting my point? All right. So this is what we dealt with. Then these were the aspects that we talked about: knowing syllabus, knowing question paper. So these 5 aspects we talked about. Then look at the syllabus. In syllabus, I told you that even though we call it an ethics paper, it is not merely about ethics. There are 3 distinct disciplines present in your syllabus. Please write their names. Don't write everything, just these titles. First is moral philosophy, what we call ethics. Now, its primary concern of this branch is to tell you what is right and wrong and how to decide it. And as a part of that, we are dealing with these topics. So where does ethics come in human life? What are the contributions of different philosophers, whether from India or around the world? Now here they have not given you any name. So it is up to us to choose which philosopher to be studied and which to be ignored. Then what is the philosophical basis of governance and probity? Because that is what you are going to do in future. So you need to understand why we should have governance at all and why we should have probity in the governance. And finally, sources of ethics and their limitations. All right. So this first column talks about what is right and wrong and how to decide it. What are the different theories are there? What are the different concepts employed? If you at all have some theories, what are their applications? What are their limitations? Because no theory is perfect theory of ethics. That is what the attribute of social science, is it not? Social sciences do not offer you perfect theories. They are relative theories. They are relative to particular context. They are relative to particular situation. They are relative to particular problems. But if you apply those theories in other contexts, they create another sort of problem. To solve that problem, you need another theories. So these different theories, they complement each other. Are you getting my point? So this is the primary concern of first column, ethics. Second is social psychology. Here you are not dealing with right and wrong concept. Here you are dealing with the human behavior when a person is a part of group. So have you observed in your life, whenever you are part of group, you behave differently than whenever you are alone? Yes, do you agree with me? Yes, many times it is true because we accept social influence. Is it not? For example, in this hall, many of you have put your phone on silent mode. You may not do that in your personal life. Why? Because the situation demands it, right? So such influence leads to both constructive behavior as well as destructive behavior. Destructive behavior like gang rapes, like communal rights, mob lynching. they are not solely the outcome of who the person is. They are also the outcome of what part of group he or she is part of. Are you getting my point? So as an administrator tomorrow, you are not going to deal with person alone. So you are going to deal with group of different characteristics in different situations, whether normal situation, abnormal situation, or celebratory situation, whatever it is. Are you getting my point? So again, social psychology is a very vast area like ethics, and they don't expect you to study each and everything in that area. They want you to be aware of only few important topics, which are key topics and which have important influence on people's lives or people's behavior. So those are attitude and emotional intelligence. Third is public administration. Now again, many of us don't have any deeper experience with this compared to this. In our life of 20 plus years, we hardly had any opportunity to interact with the systems of administration unless you want to have caste certificate or birth certificate or want to apply for certain facilities of government. Otherwise, you don't have any deeper understanding of how administration works. But as an aspirant who want to spend considerable part of life into the system, work for the system, work within the system, at least you should have a general understanding of how right and wrong is decided in administration, particularly public administration. So look at the topic. They're focusing on aptitude, they're focusing on values, they're also focusing on probity in governance. All right. And whatever list conveys to you is the theoretical part. The next part, and which is more interesting, is case studies. So they'll be giving you hypothetical situation, which are designed on the line of social situation which have happened in the country, and they would expect your response. What would you do if you are placed in this situation, whether as an officer, whether as a common citizen, whether as a consultant, or whether as an outsider who is observing the situation, who is not part of the situation? Are you getting my point? So this is in a nutshell your syllabus. Each discipline has its own demands, own requirements. Some of the questions are based on all three disciplines. So sometimes you need application of all three disciplines. Sometimes questions are based on only few disciplines. Okay. So accordingly, whenever question is given to you, you should be able to locate it in a particular component of the syllabus. Right? That is the first exercise. That's what we do whenever we analyze PYQs. Right? We link previous year questions to the component of the syllabus. Then next is a question paper. We discuss question paper. Question paper broadly consists of two sections. Section A is theory, section B is case study section. The paper total have 250 marks, 3 hours. If you count the number of words, they exceed 3,000 words. So have you written any exam which exceeds 3,000 words limit? If you haven't, then I'm very much sure if you don't practice, you'll struggle a lot in actual hall. So from the day when I often recommend my students to start writing 1 page a day. मन से लिखियो देख के लिखो कैसे भी लिखो लेकिन ये शुरुआत होनी चाहिए right. If you look at nature of section A, quote based questions, example based question, concept based question, and application based question. But again, in each category, they expect your general awareness. So even in quote, they won't simply ask your interpretation of the quote. They will also demand examples to explain what you are saying. Sometimes they would ask meaning of the quote in the present context, or sometimes they will give you situation itself by giving the quote. In example based, here they are testing your general awareness. They are seeking example whether from public life, personal life, social life, or political life. Then concept definition, they are checking your understanding of the concept and relation between them. And finally, application में क्या देख रहे हो? Your ability to apply concept to solve some of the issues. Is that clear? So even though we call it theory part, it is not purely theory part. So theoretical answers should strictly be avoided. They may constitute 50% of the answer, but should not be 100% of the answer. In case study B, you'll have two types of mainly case studies. One is option-based case study, where concrete solutions are expected, where evaluation of the option is expected. But in next type, known as situation-based or issue-based case studies. Here they expect you to show your understanding of some of the situations that are encountered across the country. Are you getting my point? Now in this, you'll have only 6 questions. So each question is important. Each question carries substantial mark, 20 or 25. So it is often recommended that you should not sacrifice any question in section B. Even if you sacrifice one question in section A due to paucity of time, you won't lose more than 10 marks. But here, 20 or 25 marks are suddenly lost. Are you getting my point? So accordingly, you have to design your response in exam hall also. All right. Okay, we won't look at some of the previous year questions because that will demand a lot of time. All right, write down books you should refer to. As a basic text, you should start with Maharashtra State Board's philosophy and psychology books. Write down. Maharashtra State Board's philosophy and psychology textbooks available both in English as well as Marathi. Maharashtra State Board's textbooks of philosophy and psychology of 11th and 12th standard. The next most important source is Justice by Michael Sandel. It is useful for moral philosophy based topics, particularly theories given by Western thinkers. This book is now available both in English as well as translated in Marathi. Michael Sandel, he is a professor who teaches at Harvard University. He has conducted many lectures on this book, based on this book, and those lectures are available on YouTube for watching. So if you read the book and watch the lectures, some of the part will be replicated in the classroom itself, so it will be easy. Second is the NCERTs of 11, 12 standards. Okay, they will be helpful for social psychology component. Third is second ARC. ARC means Administrative Reforms Commission's fourth report, ethical public administration component. Again, this is authoritative source written by government, about government, what should government do. So if you replicate same in your answer, it will be authoritative, is it not? Fourth, good practices by Niti Aayog. So it is simply compilation of good work done by administration at local level. So it will help you to cite examples wherever they are relevant. So this fourth source, Good Practices Handbook by Niti Aayog, is for examples. Then, of course, you will be having study material or notes, but I would recommend you to treat them as secondary source, not as primary. The next is answer writing guide, where model answers of PYQs are given up to 2020, coupled with notes on section A and section B, short notes. So you can refer this towards the fag end of your preparation. Once the course is over, once the notes making is over, when you start writing extensive answers, you can go for this sixth source. In addition to this, try to make use of internet discriminately. Don't use it indiscriminately. All right. And I would recommend that you should not go for any other book or notes because that will be too overwhelming. If you look at the syllabus and the amount of reading that goes into it, it is very less. And the demand of the exam is, or the paper is, you have to read less and think more and articulate precisely. But if you read too much, the mental space which is required for thinking is gone. What is written in books and not what you think. This has been our common experience with aspirants. So my recommendation is read less, think more, write more. All right, this is a recipe for GS4. Even entire this paper or exam, main exam, is a dynamic exam. Only few part or few component of your syllabus are static. Even static parts are correlated with what is happening in current affair, like history, geography. They are connected with current affair, not essentially static. Are you getting my point? So if you read sincerely your newspapers, closely newspapers, you will get everything what you need. But if you discard newspaper and if you rely on what is ready-made out there, like analysis given by someone else, monthly magazines, 365 and whatnot, then you lose vitality in understanding. What they're checking is not range of information or how much you memorize. What they're checking is how well you understand and how precisely you articulate. Are you getting my point? All right. Then, okay. We talked about expectations. Okay, this objectives of exam. To look at why the paper has been given to you. UPSC has realized this fact that this subject has been taught in schools and colleges formally or compulsory. So to overcome that deficit, they are giving you an opportunity to study the subject sincerely and to make necessary changes in yourself, if at all you are serious about joining the civil services. But as a paper, till I get acquainted with this, I will. All right. So if you are given this opportunity, UPSC believes that you will be sincerely making some necessary changes in your personality, character. But as a paper, they are checking your conviction, your spontaneous responses, your moral outlook. But the point here is, can they assess you just by writing the paper? By looking at your paper? Can they assess you? If you write certain answers, as an examiner, will I be able to understand who you are as a person? What? Not possible. But still they give you opportunity. Why? Because they believe human beings are essentially good people. And if they are given education, if they are given training, they can be molded the way we want. Are you getting my point? So as a subject, all these things are given to you to reinforce your values, to critically examine your moral practices, your means the group from which you come, then to help resolve moral dilemmas, to overcome traditional biases and prejudices. Because often we accept everything many times given by society without questioning, but that is not a healthy habit for a civil servant who wants to contribute towards progress of the country. Are you getting my point? So as a subject, you need to keep in mind all these objectives of UPSC. Then how to realize expectations. So these are some of the do's and don'ts. Okay, where you need to give authentic examples, well thought out justifications, precise definition, application to current affair. and show your conviction. On the other hand, what people do is they give cliched example, casual justifications, which are just given for the sake of writing, vague and generic definitions which are used everywhere, dense and theoretical answers wherein uh, they end up giving only theory and not application part, and finally their paper appear like superficial answers. This should be strictly avoided. Are you getting my point? So as a whole, in this paper, you can target 110 plus easily. And along with essay, along with ethics, optional, all these papers are game changers because it has been observed that in main exam, in first 100 or 200 list names, many of the toppers almost have same marks in GS 1, 2, 3. But where does it make differences in score of essay, in score of GS 4, and in the score of optional 3? Okay, and that's why you need to understand the payoff, the amount of time you should focus on, the way you should take this paper seriously, and you should pay attention to each and every aspect of its syllabus. In our entire course, we try to complete its syllabus in 3 months. Okay, 3.5 months. If we organize 2 lectures a week, 30 lectures are needed. So in 15 weeks, your syllabus is over. So whenever we are having learning sessions, I would recommend that you should not indulge into making notes, except those which you write down in classroom. Because towards the end of course, I will elaborately give a write-up about how to prepare notes, what are the sources to be referred. And once you prepare notes, then next step should be writing PYQ. And once you get feedback on PYQ, the last step should be writing mock test. This pattern should be followed for each and every subject. For main exam, you should take at least 10 to 12 months, not less than that. And unless you are sure of your main exam preparation, you should not go for prelims, because if you do that, this is going to be disaster. You may pass prelim, but passing main exam is an uphill task without substantial devotion of time. Are you getting my point? So design accordingly your preparation plan, macro plan, 1 year plan, 2 year plan, and then boil it down to micro plan like weekly plan, daily plan. All right. If you are doing your graduation, then again you'll have to decide your strategy. It won't be like those who are preparing full time. Are you getting my point? So some of you, I assume that doing your graduation, doing your academics side by side. So you can't expect your preparation like others who are full timers. Are you getting my point? So don't compare yourself with anyone else, because each one of you come from different background. So your strategy needs to be your own strategy, according to your strength, weaknesses, what you have done so far in life, what you like to do, what you don't like to do, which subject you like, which you don't like, what are your strengths, what you do well, what you don't do well, and accordingly you should seek guidance and start preparing. All right? Okay. Shall we start with the topic content? Any question? Because I have just rushed through what we did in first session. But what I would recommend, if you want to see it elaborately, the lecture is available on YouTube. Okay, recorded lecture. You can go through it again. But in this lecture, I would like to start with the content straight away. Okay, any questions, any doubt, if you want to ask about overall preparation before we start content? Language is not barrier. You can ask me in Marathi, you can ask me in Hindi, you can ask me in English. South Indian language, I don't know. Shall we start? All right. First topic given in your syllabus is ethics and human interface. Its meaning is, what are those areas of human life where ethics has a key role to play? In nutshell, what are the different sources from which we learn ethics? But you may ask me question, sir, we don't know what is ethics. How can we talk about where does ethics come in human life? Unless you know what are the different dimensions of ethics, determinants of ethics, how can you talk about what are the different areas of human life where we learn ethics? Now, here I want to tell you, learning what is ethics cannot be completed in one session. It requires at least 4 to 5 sessions to understand what is ethics. Then we start with thinkers. But in today's session, by talking about ethics and human interface, we will also try to discuss mainly what is not ethics. This approach in Indian School of Philosophy, one of the Indian School of Philosophy, known as Neti Neti approach. Have you heard this word Neti Neti in Sanskrit? Naiti Naiti means what? Haven't you heard this word before? Neti Neti. Naiti Naiti means ye nahi, ye nahi. This is an approach where you reject what is false, and by rejecting false consistently, you arrive at the truth. Are you getting my point? This is mainly found in Advait philosophy, Advaitwad. You must read about it. It is an interesting Indian school of philosophy, mainly based on logic and reasoning. Okay, it is part of Vedant, written by Shankaracharya. It's one of the main scripture is or literature is Vivek Chudamani. Okay, and we are going to discuss that whenever we will discuss Indian moral thinkers. So today our approach will be to understand what is not ethics. Once you understand that, then understanding what is ethics becomes easy. All right. So look at these different areas of life: law, religion, customs, traditions, emotions, science, art. Do you believe they influence our life? Or is there anyone who is not at all influenced by any one of this? Not possible, is it not? If you are living in modern democratic society, law influences your life before you take birth, right? Starting from womb to tomb, is it not? Even after your death, what will happen to your body? What will happen to your property? What will happen to your children or progeny will be decided by law. Similarly, is also religion. One of the attributes of Indian society is it is a religious society. Do you agree? By and large, yes. Even some of you may not be influenced by religion or God or any religious belief, but tomorrow you cannot reject people who are influenced by it. As an administrator, you're going to deal with temples, festivals, Mahakumbha Mela, various congregations, followers, गॉडमैन, है ना? तो आपको ये समझना होगा कि ये कैसे इन्फ्लुएंस करता है. Similarly, customs and traditions, they are not necessarily religious, they are also secular traditions, है ना? Which have nothing to do with religion, and yet we follow them generation after generation, right? Like traditions followed in colleges, traditions followed in judiciary. अभी भी आप देखते हो वो काला कोट पहन के बैठ रहे हैं. Is there rationality behind it? In tropical country like India, where scorching summer is going on and you are sitting in three-piece suit, do you think it is rational? No, not rational. Not everything we do in life is rational. Do you agree? The emotions, do you think they are rational? Ask those who are in love. है ना, rational कुछ नहीं होता है. फिर हम करते हैं, वो हमें इन्फ्लुएंस करता है किसी चीज को राइट कहने के लिए, किसी चीज को रॉन्ग कहने के लिए. So can we call it ethics? Even science. Look at this, the technology we are using, online people listening to my lecture, and then we are going to interact. Smartphones, which were not there 2 decades before, right? आपके बचपन में थे क्या ये? नहीं थे, रिमेम्बर वो छोटे नोकिया के थे, राइट, ब्लैक एंड व्हाइट स्क्रीन। अभी इसमें सब हो रहा है, पीपल डूइंग बिजनेस ओवर इट। ये भी राइट रॉन्ग बता रहा है, इसके भी एटिक्वेट्स है। सो ये क्वेश्चन है, साइंस में आपको बता रहा है क्या राइट रॉन्ग क्या है? आर्ट लाइक बॉलीवुड, थिएटर, नॉवेल्स, पोएम्स, है ना, पेंटिंग, डू दे टीच यू इथिक्स? These are the questions that we are going to deal with today. All right. I don't know how much we can cover, but let's start. Start with ethics and law. The question is, can law take place of ethics? The answer is no, because there are certain limitations. Are you getting my point? So first limitation, write down, are all laws ethical? पहला जो लिमिटेशन है ये है, सब लॉ इथिकल होते हैं क्या? In order to claim as ethics, they should be ethical. But do you agree that all laws are not ethical? Why? Because they are made by, in democratic society, leaders of the people. Sometimes people can be wrong, society can be wrong, leaders can be wrong, their views can be wrong. For example, do you remember this IPC section 377? It had criminalized homosexuality. Now, do you think it is right to criminalize any sexual orientation as long as it is based on consent? When two individuals with full consent, awareness, entering into sexual relationship, should state tell us what is right and wrong? No, it should be based on personal judgment. And yet we did it. Why? Why do you know? We did it. क्यों हमने ऐसा किया और क्या है? It is British influence, is it not? Victorian morality. If you read ancient literature of Indian society like Kama Sutra, homosexuality was normal. Normal means those people who were into homosexual relationship, they were not outcasted. Are you getting my point? But we accepted Victorian morality and we carried it into 21st century. It took us a very long time to realize this is an injustice. Is it not? Because the principles of ethics do not permit us to do these things. For example, no harm principle. We will discuss that. No harm principle says a person should be given freedom to that extent as long as his or her action do not harm the others. So when two people are entering into sexual orientation without harming others, should state intervene? No. Are you getting my point? Let's take another example, Sedition Act. Do you think it still exists? Sedition Act abhi bhi hai na? Who had created this law? British. Why? To suppress Indian national movement. Our founding fathers, who were freedom fighters, they had severely criticized and opposed this law. But what we did after independence? We continued with the same law. And we did not only continue, we misused the law. And that's why few months back, Supreme Court had to intervene. Are you getting my point? And now the debate is going on. Do we need such law in a democratic country where we are criminalizing the opposition to the government as if it is sedition? Does every time opposition to the government means sedition, means treason? Are you getting my point? So these laws like Criminal Tribes Act, have you heard about it? Under this, British had branded entire community of certain tribes as criminal, branded them criminal. Do you think it is right? No. Its repercussions, its consequences are still felt in democratic country like India. Have you heard about community Fasepardi in Maharashtra? Still it is seen with the eyes of suspicion. Why? Do you think each member of this community indulges into robbery, stealing, or crimes? No. But still we are influenced by that notion, which straight away comes from British Act. So first criteria, in order to call law as ethics, they need to be ethical, but they are not necessary. Are you getting my point? Second part, are all ethical norms covered by laws? What do you think? Whatever ethical norms that we practice as a society, do they all fall under laws? Like speaking truth or not lying to your friend? अगर आपने आपके दोस्त से झूठ बोला, does law punish you? Should it punish you? Next time, next day, police will knock on your door. तुमने दोस्त से झूठ बोला, अब चलो. What will it lead to if we do it? ऐसा अगर कर देंगे हम, if we obstinately, stubbornly bring all norms under laws, what will happen? सोचो क्या हो सकता है? So this is where imagination is important. क्या हो सकता है बताओ? Privacy. All right, privacy is a distant thing. In Indian society, we are going to discuss. Privacy is an alien concept. They will? Right. What will happen? There will be chaos, is it not? Even a normal human interaction will be impossible. Every time you'll have to carry rule book before you utter a word. You'll have to check what law says about it. Otherwise, someone would file complaint against you. Is it not? So even if you decide to bring all ethical norms under laws, it is not practically possible. Are you getting my point? So things like doing charity, being courteous to your neighbor, they fall outside the domain of law. And that is another major limitation of law, that it cannot take place of ethics in every aspect of life. Is that clear? So the scope of law is narrow, the scope of ethics is wider. Is that clear? Next. Another limitation, the pace at which society changes, law cannot change at the same speed. Do you agree? Rapid changes in the society. Current era is characterized by that thing. The era of technology, internet, globalization. Look at the pandemic. It originated in one country and it brought entire world to standstill. Do you agree? Yes. So do you think law can change at that speed? Have you started studying polity, lawmaking process? So it is a tedious, time-consuming, is it not? Whether you make laws at state level, whether you make laws at central level or international law, it is not a simple process. Look at some of the laws we still have from British era, and we have not been able to amend them or repeal them. What does it signify? Lawmaking or law amendment process is a very slow. And therefore, many times it fails to respond to current demand of the situation. Are you getting my point? So this is one limitation, that law cannot change at the speed society changes. So who will respond to the needs of society? Ethics as a subject. This next limitation is human behavior has limitless dimensions or variations. Let me ask you a question. Now, the person with whom you have spent considerable time, still, can you predict his or her behavior accurately every time? आपके parents देखो, भाई बहन देखो, sometimes they become unpredictable. So even you have intimate knowledge of a person in your life, still you wonder what happened. Do you think law can capture this variation? No, law captures only those things which are repetitive in nature, where there is a precedent. But जहां precedent नहीं है, उसको कौन handle करेगा? कौन analyze करेगा? कौन do's and don'ts देगा? So that task is performed by ethics. So these are some of the limitations of laws in order to guide us in ethical aspect of our life. That doesn't mean useless. Of course, law tells us what is right and wrong. For example, law tells us child marriage is wrong. Law tells us that untouchability is wrong. Dowry, tradition of dowry is wrong. But that doesn't mean law is going to guide you in each and every aspect. Even as an administrator, law is not going to tell you each and everything. That's why they give you discretion, what we call in Marathi, Vivekadhikar. There will be certain areas where you'll have to apply your mind and take decision. Law won't be clear over there. And that is also one area where, as a civil servant, you need to be apt about ethical dimensions of decision making, which law is not going to clearly tell you. Are you getting my point? All right. Now, next question is then what should be relationship between ethics and law? Write down this aspect. Law means common minimum necessary morality. लॉ का मतलब क्या होता है? कॉमन मिनिमम नेसेसरी मोरालिटी. ये जो मोरालिटी है जो लॉ आपको बता रहा है, दैट इज नेसेसरी टू स्टे टुगेदर एज अ स्टेबल हेल्दी सोसाइटी. द मिनिमम मोरालिटी ऑल पीपल शुड फॉलो. So at least we should not rob each other. At least we should not murder each other. Are you getting my point? But if you lie to each other, law cannot intervene every time. For example, husband lies to wife or wife lies to husband. Do you think law can intervene there or should intervene? Not possible. It will lead to chaos. It will make such relationship meaningless. Are you getting my point? So minimum आपको कितना moral रहना है वो law आपको बताता है. उसके आगे it is your responsibility. उसके आगे there will be informal mechanisms like your friend circle, your family, your relatives, your neighborhood. That will take care if you don't take care. Are you getting my point? So common minimum necessary morality means law. Second, law is the codification of ethics. This is the relationship between law and ethics. Law is the codification of ethics. So what do you understand by this word codification? When you codify something, what do you do? When you codify something, what do you do here? Which is applicable to? The codifying is a wider term. It is not merely used in ethics. It is used in programming language also. Understanding meaning? Commands. Minimizing the words. Okay. Can you simplify it? Propaganda. Propaganda is different word. It has different connotation. Codification means to clearly write something. To bring clarity in written format. Writing and writing it clearly. So बहुत बार ethics से आपको जो मिलता है वो clear नहीं होता है. It gives you principles and theories. For example, it will give you principle of equality, equity, or utilitarianism. But what does it mean in the specific context is not told by ethics. So this is the task of law. Law will convert these principles into do's and don'ts. Have you read original and gazetted notification of the laws sometimes? पढ़ा है आपने लॉ कभी जो गवर्नमेंट पब्लिश करता है डॉक्यूमेंट, गैजेटेड नोटिफिकेशन बोलते हैं जिसको, क्या आपको पढ़ना है आगे जाके? For example, laws like RTI, RT. If you read their preface, in the preface itself, they define the word, what is right, what is information. Are you getting my point? Why? Because if the matter goes to court, there should not be confusion. Are you getting my point? So that is meant by codification. You are converting theories and principles into clearly instructions. Is that clear? Now, another aspect which is not written over there. Suppose there is a law which is not at all acceptable to society, but government wants to implement it. Is it possible to implement the law by sheer use of force? Yes. If society is against such law and government wants to implement it, and as a general society we don't support the law, will government be able to use such law in practice? Not possible. People will violate the law no matter what you do. Then what makes law implementable? What do you think? फिर law का implementation कैसे होता है? If you can't use force all the time, how will you make sure as an administrator that law is implemented in later and straight? Correct. By increasing its acceptability, by making it legitimate, by making people believe that this law is in their interest. And ethics performs this task. By making laws ethical, you increase its legitimacy. So, next line. Laws should be created on the foundation of ethics. Laws should be created on the foundation of ethics. This makes a law a legitimate law. This makes a law a legitimate law. And then its implementation. Then its implementation becomes possible. Online people, are you able to follow what is going on? All right. So have you understood the relationship between laws and ethics? That laws cannot replace ethics in each and every situation. Of course, it tries to tell you what is ethical and what is unethical, but not in every aspect. Even as an administrator, forget about as an individual. But as an administrator also, law doesn't dictate you each and every situation. Sometimes you are expected to apply your discretion. And for that purpose, you need to be aware about ethical dimensions of decision making. Is that clear? All right. Next exercise. Create 4 quadrants like this. Oh, it's not visible even. Compatibility show. All right. Do it for you. A, B, C, D. Okay. A is ethical and legal. A quadrant covers those actions or those things which are both ethical as well as legal. So I have given an example like paying taxes, protesting peacefully. Can you write more examples for this A quadrant? Doing charity, helping people in need, respecting elders. Because it doesn't lead to violation of laws and it is also in accordance with ethics. Right? So you can write plenty example for this quadrant A. Now quadrant B is unethical but legal. लीगल का मतलब है नॉट इलीगल. Unethical but legal. फॉर एग्जाम्पल लाइंग अनइथिकल है, बट इथिकल क्या नहीं है. लॉ डजंट पनिश यू. वेस्टिंग फूड बट लॉ आपको पनिश करता है क्या इफ यू वेस्ट फूड इन योर होम और इन सेरेमनी. इवन हिटलर्स एक्शंस were legal according to his created laws, but would you term them as ethical action? No. Sometimes this is also exploited in developing countries where they follow minimum bare requirement of law, but what is necessary but beyond the law to be done for the welfare of workers is not done. One of the classic example which had happened in our neighboring country, Bangladesh, where a factory came down and many workers died. When they investigated, it was found that the employer had done what is minimum bare necessary required by law. So that was legal. But still people died, means it was unethical. Is that clear? Quadrant C is simple. It is both unethical and illegal. And you can give many examples here. Murder, rape, exploitation, human trafficking, organ trafficking, bribery. Now, D quadrant is interesting. Ethical but illegal. So this happens when the law itself is unethical. Are you getting my point? And then you break the law, that becomes ethical, but breaking the law is illegal. So that is salt satyagraha by Gandhi. Is it not? He broke the law, so illegal. But breaking the law for the sake of common man was ethical. Even breaking traffic rule to save someone's life is ethical. But still it is breaking traffic rule, so it is illegal. So try to understand where does this happen. D happens when law themselves are unethical. B happens in those areas where law doesn't come. Are you getting my point? But where ethics come, like wasting food, lying, or being discourteous to your neighbor. Law आपको immediately punish नहीं करता है if you behave rudely, but still that is unethical. Are you getting my point? So your task henceforth is to try to collect as many examples as possible for quadrant D and quadrant B from current affairs. Are you getting my point? आप पढ़ोगे और ये अच्छी तरह से समझने के लिए प्लीज राइट डाउन वन टेलीग्राम चैनल इज क्रिएटेड करंट अफेयर का लिंक समझने के लिए विद सिलेबस एंड टॉपिक्स. नाम लिखो यूनिक एथिक्स डिस्कशन ग्रुप. यूनिक एथिक्स डिस्कशन ग्रुप. If you scroll up to the beginning, you'll get tons of articles linked to syllabus, and you can download some of them and file them to your current affair file. All right. So, any question about ethics and law, if you want to ask, any doubt you have, सब समझ में आ गया आपको जो डिस्कस किया? सिंपल है. Anything you want to ask about this? Any doubt? Any example? Now here, I want to tell you, there are certain areas where there is no unanimity about what is right and wrong. समझ में आ रहा है आपको? So such example should be avoided. What is considered ethical by one group may not be considered ethical by another group. But if you are at all confused, please go for guidance towards Constitution. Constitution आपको क्या बता रहा है? Because as a civil servant, you are expected to follow constitutional morality first. Is that clear? So even if your communal morality or morality of your group tells you one thing, but if it is against the values of the Constitution or morality of the Constitution, then you should first give priority to constitutional morality. Is that clear? All right. In this situation, yes, there are certain situations where you need to apply emergency rules, and they are spelled out in Constitution, right? Sometimes it has been changed also. Internal disturbance is replaced by armed rebellion. Are you aware of that? After first emergency, because we found then again Constitution makers realize it could be misused, like it happened in Indira Gandhi period. So it should be armed rebellion, not merely disturbance, which can be brought under control by simply law and order machinery. So yes, of course. But again, as I said, law can be unethical itself. तो आपको ethics का filter ही लगाना है. Are you getting my point? All right. Anything else? Online people, do you have any query? Please ask. Have you understood these examples? I hope these are visible to you. Okay, next part is ethics and religion. The word we use for religion in Indian language is dharma. This is the Sanskrit word which comes from the root word dhru. और इसका संस्कृत definition धारयति sadharma. What is the meaning of this? धारयति sadharma. जो समाज को धारण करता है, जो समाज का पालन पोषण करता है, which holds the society together, is known as dharma. So we are going to learn that varnashram dharma, is it not? According to your varna, they are telling you dharma. If you are Brahmin, what you should do. If you are Kshatriya, what you should do. Is it not? So if you perform your task assigned to you, there will be stability in the society. So dharayati sadharma. Is that clear? There is another connotation. For example, we use such word Raj Dharma, Pitru Dharma, Guru Dharma. So what does dharma connote here? ये जो हम वर्ड यूज कर रहे हैं इसमें गुरु धर्म, शिष्य धर्म, इसमें धर्म का मतलब क्या है? Duties, responsibilities and duties according to your social role. If you are a father, then what are your duties? If you are a sister or a brother, what are your duties? If you are a son or a daughter, what are your duties? Right? And these aspects also tell you what is ethical and unethical according to the situation in which you are placed. Is it not? If you are a teacher, then how you should behave. If you are a husband, then how you should behave. That morality comes from the word dharma. So the question remains, if Indian society is largely religious society influenced by dharma, so can dharma takes place of ethics? Again, the answer is no. Why? There are certain limitations. So let's start with fundamental differences. There are three fundamental differences between religion and ethics. Write down. One is origin. Origin of norms. दोनों भी आपको नॉर्म्स दे रहे हैं, राइट एंड रॉन्ग के, बट उसका ओरिजिन अलग अलग है. Religion claims that the norms given by it are divine. Do you agree? Religion जो आपको बता रहा है वो कहां से आ रहा है, अगर आप पूछोगे तो बता रहे हैं वो ऊपर से आ रहा है, आदमी नहीं क्रिएट कर रहा है. फॉर एग्जाम्पल, वेदास आर टर्म्ड एज अपौरुषेय. हैव यू हर्ड दिस टर्म? अपौरुषेय का मतलब नॉट क्रिएटेड बाय ह्यूमन बीइंग्स. Those who wrote Vedas, they claimed this knowledge was revealed to them in dream or by sakshatkar. Right? If you go to Islam, Prophet Muhammad claims he is a messenger of Allah. So whatever he says, it's not his own creation. It is the message of Allah is giving to follower. Similarly in Christianity also. Jesus, he claims that he is son of God. He is simply carrying message of the God. So whatever norms you have from religion, it is claimed either they are given by God or divine being or the person who is similar to divine being. We treat them like God, known as avatar. Are you getting my point? But in ethics, the origin of norm is in intellect or the capacity of human being to reason out. Write down. In ethics, the origin of norm is in intellect of human beings or the capacity to reason out. So have you understood this difference? In ethics, whatever you find as right and wrong, it will be debated by using reasoning. Okay, but in religion, it rarely happens. This comes the second difference. Investigation of norms. So why do you do investigation if at all you do? Investigation का purpose क्या होता है? सिर्फ right and wrong decide करना यही होता है क्या? Truth, correct. सच क्या है ये ढूंढना. Now in religion, so have you come across instances where followers of particular religion question what religion says? So there are various treatises on Bhagavad Gita. Have you heard about them? Like in Maharashtra, we have Jnaneshwari. Is it not? It is known as commentary on Bhagavad Gita. Then you have a book written by ISKCON. They claim it Jashi Ahe Tashi. Bhagavad Gita Jashi Ahe Tashi. Means as it is. Is it not? If you go to Ramakrishna Mission, they also one translation of Bhagavad Gita into Marathi. Now, what they are doing by doing this? They are giving you different interpretation of the same text. But none of them is questioning what Krishna has said. They are not asking, let's investigate what Krishna has said, whether it is right or wrong, or whether it is correct or incorrect. No. That is not permitted in religion. If you do it, you are not considered part of religion. Are you getting my point? In some of the religion, there is also punishment for doing this. So for example, in Islam, if you criticize Quran, if you investigate it, if you critically examine it, it is known as blasphemy. And in country like Pakistan, they have laws to punish it with death. Are you getting my point? So this is prohibited in religion, but this is strictly done in ethics. Are you getting my point? So whatever theory principles that are given to ethics, they are subjected to critical examination. They are evaluated by other thinkers, peers. community of scholars, and then theory is accepted in ethics. If it has serious flaws, then it is rejected as a dominant theory of ethics. It is considered as a minor theory of ethics. Are you getting my point? So whatever is prohibited in religion in one respect is strictly implemented in ethics. So this is contradiction. Are you getting my point? And last is emphasis on rituals. Religion tells you what is right and wrong. It also gives you guidelines about how to implement what is right and how to avoid what is wrong. For example, charity is claimed as a good thing by religion. But does it permit you to give anything to anyone? हिंदू रिलीजन में दान धर्म जो कहा जाता है, आप किसी को भी दान कर सकते हो क्या? नहीं कर सकते. कभी भी दान कर सकते हो क्या? नहीं कर सकते. कुछ भी दान कर सकते हो क्या? नहीं कर सकते. कर्मकांड बोलते हैं इसको हम, राइट? फॉर एग्जाम्पल, इफ यू वांट टू गिव ऑफरिंग टू गॉड, how to give it, what to give it, is it at your own liberty? No, it is strictly instructed to you. But ethics doesn't do that. Ethics gives you theories, principles, and leaves its application to you at your own liberty. For example, the application of equity in India differs substantially from application of equity in America. The application of utilitarianism in one context may not be similar to application of utilitarianism in another context. Even though principle remains same, application differs. Are you getting my point? So here, ethics gives you a lot of flexibility according to your situation. Religion doesn't. And these three differences, fundamental differences, highlight why religion cannot take place of ethics. Are you getting my point? Because if you can't question anything, then it is tantamount to accepting it blindly. And many times it is not a good thing. Are you getting my point? Accepting anything blindly is disastrous, especially when you are capable to decide what is right and wrong. Especially when situation is no longer same. Are you getting my point? All right. Now, next interesting point I would like to talk about here is Euthyphro's problem. Euthyphro's problem. In ancient Greek, there were some philosophers, famous philosophers, known as Socrates, Plato, Aristotle. So the dialogue of Socrates are recorded by his student Plato. And in one of the dialogue termed as Euthyphro's problem, Euthyphro is a character in that dialogue. He was a judge, and what it happens that a slave is unintentionally killed by his father, and he puts one's own father on trial because Euthyphro was a fair-minded individual. And because of that, his family, his relative, and his father get upset. And during that trial, before that trial, he had a conversation with Socrates, and they discuss what is right and wrong, from where it comes. All right. So during that conversation, this Euthyphro makes a statement. Okay, I'll tell you in simple language. वो कहता है, जो भगवान को पसंद है वो पवित्र है, जो भगवान को पसंद नहीं है वो अपवित्र है. Is that fair enough? समझ में आ गया आपको? Simple relation. जो भगवान को पसंद है वो पवित्र है, भी है वो अपवित्र है. Socrates being philosopher, he never accepts anything blindly without investigating. So उसको पूछता है कि हम एक्सेप्ट करें या उसको कुछ चेक करके देखें, जो आप कह रहे हो वो सच है या सच नहीं है, वैलिड है या नहीं. So being fair-minded, Euthyphro says yes. So to check validity, Socrates asks counter question. तो क्या पूछता है? कोई भी चीज भगवान को पसंद है इसलिए पवित्र है, या वो पवित्र है इसलिए भगवान को पसंद है? समझ में आया? सवाल समझ में आया? कोई भी चीज भगवान को पसंद है इसलिए पवित्र है, या वो पवित्र है इसलिए भगवान को पसंद है? ये सवाल पूछ के सोक्रेटिस ने आंसर दे दिया है। क्या आंसर दे दिया है? That the concept of holy and unholy doesn't originate from God. Rather, the concept of godliness originates from what is holy and unholy. So, being holy and unholy is independent in itself. It doesn't depend on God. Whether you are God or not depends on whether what you do, whether it is holy or unholy. Can you imagine a God who kills children or lies in gutter? Cannot. Why? Because a God is God because he accepts certain restrictions which common human cannot do. Are you getting my point? So ये बता के Socrates important concept हमें बताया है. The concept of what is right and wrong doesn't come from religion. It comes from our own understanding of what is right and wrong, which is independent of religion. So religion अभी आए, उसके पहले religion कभी नहीं थे. So उसका मतलब है क्या right wrong नहीं था कभी? Concept of right wrong was it completely absent? If you study religion, many religions, you'll find surprisingly some of the principles are common across the religion. Are you getting my point? There is unity about certain principles. For example, not harming an innocent person. There is unanimity in every religion. No religion says that you should harm innocent person. Are you getting my point? So unnecessary violence जिसको बोलते हैं, that is strictly prohibited in every religion. So what does it indicate? That morality precedes the religion. Morality पहले से ही थी. Religion बाद में जब आया तो उसने उसको absorb कर लिया. Is that clear? Okay, next point. Suppose after all this discussion, some people who are extremely in love with their religion, and they say that no matter what you say, sir, we want religion. हमें हिंदू राष्ट्र ही चाहिए. ऐसा हो सकता है ना? Some people who are infatuated with religion, deeply in love with religion, they would claim that religion tells us what is right and wrong in every aspect. We want religion. Then the next question, which religion? बताओ कौन सा religion आप करोगे? Because if you accept one religion, is it not tantamount to denying another religion? Is it not? Okay, suppose being Hindu majority, if you accept Hindu religion, do you think Hindu religion is homogeneous religion? Not at all. Is there one God? Is there one book? Sometimes there is a contradiction in same religion. Do you agree? For example, let's talk about schools of philosophy. In Vedanta, there are 3 schools of philosophy known as Dvait, Vishishtadvait and Advait. Dvait कहता है that God and man is different and God is superior. विशिष्ट अद्वैत कहता है, जो largely भक्ति मार्ग होता है, वो कहता है कि man and God are different, but man is a part of God. Are you getting my point? जो आदमी है वो अंश है भगवान का. और अद्वैत कहता है ये डिफरेंस कुछ भी नहीं है, दोनों एक ही है, सिर्फ माया ने आपको कंफ्यूज कर दिया है. यू ट्रीट योरसेल्फ एज दिस बॉडी, बट यू आर परब्रह्म. देयर इज ओनली वन थिंग नोन एज परब्रह्म व्हिच परवेट्स ऑल द रियलिटी, एंड व्हाट डिफरेंसेस यू ऑब्जर्व आर mere illusion. Are you getting my point? So even if you look at sects, what we call pantha, if you look at the practices, if you look at their followership, they all have, heterogeneity, sometimes contradiction, sometimes conflict. And I'm not talking only about Hindu religion. If you go to Islam, do you think there is unanimity about anything in Islam? No, there are different sects like Sunni, Shia. Sometimes they have violent quarrels, not principled quarrels. Are you getting my point? There are countries made based on this sect. If you go to Christianity, Do you think there is only one sect in Christianity? No, there are Catholics, Protestants, Calvinists, and they have serious differences about what is right and wrong. Okay, look at Buddhism. Do you think there is only one sect? No, you have Hinayana, Vajrayana, Mahayana. In Southeast Asia, you have Theravada Buddhism. How will you reconcile these differences? If you say one thing, one as a right, then another is automatically become wrong. It becomes relative, it becomes situational. You go to Jainism also. Do you think there is only one sect? No, you have Shwetambar, you have Digambar. Few days back, there was a violent dispute in Maharashtra, in Shirpur place, about the idol of a saint. So is it not a contradiction? So selecting a religion is riddled with many problems. Are you getting my point? Okay, next issue is other limitations of religion. For example, in modern society, there are many problems which religion cannot handle. For example, euthanasia. Do you think religion gives answer to euthanasia? Or pregnancy which threatens life of women? Do you think religion permits that? Sometimes it prohibits, is it not? There was a case in Ireland. An Indian woman died when she had a serious complication in pregnancy. The government over there denied the abortion because it had influence of religion. Are you getting my point? Or cyber attacks. Do you think religion has an answer for this? No. So there are many problems in modern era which cannot be satisfactorily answered by religion as far as ethical dimensions are concerned. Are you getting my point? And last, what about those who don't believe in religion or God, atheists or non-religious people? If you accept religion as the basis of morality, then you will automatically term these people as immoral people because they don't believe your religion. They are non-believers. Is it right thing to do? To punish or to outcast these people because they don't believe in any religion? For example, one of the founding fathers of this nation and first Prime Minister of India, Jawaharlal Nehru, was an atheist. You know this? He did not believe in God. He believed in science. He treated religious literature as literature, not as something created by God, but a beautiful creation of human mind. So a person like him can lay the foundation of next few decades for a country. Can we discard such people who are essentially good, but they don't believe in God? Because they believe for being moral, for being ethical person, you need not teaching from God or religion. So these are some of the limitations of religion. But again, this is not to say that whatever religion says is useless. No. Again, you'll have to apply filter of ethics to accept what ethics is good from religion and to reject what ethics is bad from religion. Are you getting my point? And as a society, India has done it time and again, is it not? So we have banned child marriage, we have banned sati pratha, we have banned untouchability. Are you getting my point? But they had religious sanction. So again, it is a clear example that as a society, we don't follow each and everything told by religion. So what we are doing here, we are applying the filter of ethics. And this is what we need to do further. Is that clear? All right. So this is second point. Any question? Anything you want to ask or share? Any doubt? Are you getting what is going on here? What we are trying to do here? We are trying to understand limitations of various sources of ethics. Because layman or common people follow these sources. But when tomorrow you are going to deal with them, at least you should be aware of their limitation. You should not be blindly accepting influences of other people. Just because they tell you what is right and wrong, doesn't mean it is right and wrong. ये ऐसा हो सकता है ना, we succumb to social influence. बहुत बार घर में भी होता है ना? आपने देखा है हमारे माँ बाप, है ना, ग्रैंड पेरेंट्स, neighbors, relatives, they try to dictate morality. But is it every time right what they say right? No. So as an independent thinker, you should be in position to understand what is right and wrong. At least at common level, not an expert level. All right, next is customs and traditions. Now, why I'm separating customs and traditions from religion? Because sometimes it is found that customs and traditions have their origin in religion. But I said sometimes, not all the time. Is that clear? Okay, so first limitation is customs and tradition keep changing according to time and place. They are not constant. Do you agree? Yes. Can you give me example of different traditions and customs? Any example in whichever you have come across in your life, that in one place one thing is going on, but it is not found in other place. Marriage ceremonies, correct. The way they are performed, is there uniformity across it? No. It is proverbially said that they change every 50 kilometers. Is it not? ऐसा कहते हैं ना? Every 50 kilometer, the practices change. So what is right in one place may not be right in other place. So if that thing happen, can you get universal morality? No. समझ में आ रहा है? आपने ये सुना है भारत में कुछ गांव ऐसे हैं जहां बाय ट्रेडिशन डॉटर्स को प्रोस्टिट्यूशन में पुश करते हैं. They do prostitution by tradition. सुना नहीं? मध्य प्रदेश में है. They are along the highway and is practiced by families. They celebrate the birth of daughter because they are source of income. वो ट्रेडिशन है वहां का. Would you find acceptance everywhere? Absolutely not. Okay, हिमाचल या हिमालयन एरियाज में पॉलीएंड्री प्रैक्टिस की जाती है कुछ एरियाज में. Have you heard about polyandry? A woman has multiple husbands. Why do you think? There are reasons, of course. They don't do it just for the sake of tradition, but it is traditionally done. Because there is utter poverty and they don't want to divide their property. As a community, they agree on these practices. Would you find such thing elsewhere? In North Karnataka, in temples, there is a tradition of Made Snana. Have you heard about it, Made Snana? Where devotees roll over the leftovers of priests. जब प्रीस्ट खाना खा के उठ जाते हैं तो जो रहता है उसके ऊपर रोल ओवर करते हैं. एंड दे बिलीव दैट इफ दे डू इट दे विल गेट ब्लेसिंग्स ऑफ गॉड एंड प्रीस्ट्स. वुड यू फाइंड इट इन महाराष्ट्र? इज इट नॉट? So they are variable. Whatever thing is often to same God in one place may not be same in other place. Is it not? For example, in Konkan, in Ganeshotsav, they offer fish. Do you find it in Pune? No, it will be considered as insult to God, same God. Are you getting my point? So they are variable. Second thing, they are not always connected with religion. Sometimes they evolve out of the local conditions. If you keenly study religion, you will observe that it is by and large product of geography. Do you agree? आपका geography आपको जो dictate कर रहा है वैसे ही आपका culture shape लेता है. So your God will not like those things which are not available in your areas. आपके एरिया में फिश है तो गॉड को फिश ही अच्छा लगेगा. समझ में आ रहा है आपको? आपके जो प्रैक्टिसेस है, whether religious, customary practices, cultural practices, they are closely connected with geography or environment. So they depend on local situation, not always connected to religion. They also depend on beliefs of local people. So one of the classic example is Sabrimala issue. Have you heard about Sabrimala issue? So there was no entry for women between age group 10 to 50. Is it not? Why? Because it is believed that the god over there is Bal Brahmachari, Naishtik Brahmachari जिसको बोलते हैं. But the same god in other part of Kerala has got 2 wives. How come this possible? In one place he is Bal Brahmachari, in other place he is married man, householder, and there is no restriction. Is this essentially connected with religious scripture? No. It is also dependent on belief of local people. And this also brings in variation in morality. So universal morality is not possible. Some of the practices, customs and traditions can be exploitative towards some of the sections of society. So do you agree? Have you heard about Parda system? Well, जिसको बोलते हैं. Do you think it is always justified in all situations? No. Have you come across news that some of the professions are enforced on certain sections of society, whether they want it or not? Still it happens in rural areas. If they don't perform their profession, entire village boycotts them. ये अभी भी होता है इंडिया में. So ऐसे जो ट्रेडिशन है वो कंपलसरी आपको कुछ प्रोफेशन में एंगेज कर रहे हैं. जैसे मैंने प्रोस्टिट्यूशन का एग्जांपल भी दिया. Do you think this is justified towards those girls who are unwilling to enter into? Absolutely not. So they can be exploitative or unjust. And finally, they limit the scope for reforms. Why? Because people believe since it is done generation after generation, it must be right. Have you heard this dialogue in your homes? Many times our elders also say. Is it not? हमारे पूर्वजों ने किया है तो अच्छी होगा, अच्छा ही होगा. Without questioning why they did it. समझ में आ रहा है आपको? तब उन्होंने जब किया होगा वो कुछ लॉजिक लगा के किया होगा, कुछ सिचुएशन के तहत किया होगा. But do you think same situation prevails even today? Yes? No. In Maharashtra, for example, have you seen witness funeral rites? अंत्य संस्कार कभी देखे आपने? जब वो लेके जाते हैं, a person who is in front of the procession carries one pot. ठीक है, वो लेके चलता है ऊपर कुछ लेके. हाँ, और उसमें क्या होता है? वो स्पॉट में क्या होता है? Yes. What is there? Fire. They carry fire.